European Union being subservient. But the European Union has been subservient to the United States of America. And I think here, the richest European nation needs to step up, and that is Germany. After the Second World War, after the death of Hitler, after the surrender, Germany took a backseat and Germany said no more fight. Europe has been the most violent continent in the history of this planet. The most violent. I'm talking about after 1945. Europe changed absolutely. Jai Hind friends. I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Geopolitically speaking, it has been some time and I've been watching it that Europe and the United States of America, their relationship, which was rock solid even before the Second World War, even before that, even during the First World War, the relationship was always rock solid. Now, this is fracturing. It is coming apart at the seams. There is a thinking, there is a philosophy in the United States of America that maybe the European countries are not pulling their weight. Like Donald Trump says, he says we are the biggest contributors. Why? Everybody should contribute equally. And Donald Trump's entire position on this matter and other matters also is that everybody should contribute equally. Why should you hold the United States of America to a larger contribution than the other members of a panel or a platform now? NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a group of Western states that have been classically against Soviet expansion and now they are against Russia also. Now they're resetting their sights on China, and there are a whole bunch of national security threats that Europe is facing. And ever since this whole Ukraine thing came about, Russia invading Ukraine, I think the Europeans have become extremely sensitive that danger is next door. If you look at the map, you'll realize that Russia and Finland are actually neighbors. Russia juts right into Western Europe. And if the Russian bear decides to roll into Finland, there is nothing that Finland can do. Obviously, these countries are scrambling to join NATO because NATO says that, if you hit one of us, you hit all of us, and then all of us will together respond. So there is some safety in numbers. Let's start with what Mr. Emmanuel Macron, the President of France, said in the Sorbonne University in Paris. So he was attending a talk there. He was giving a talk there and he mentioned a few things which are not very surprising. A lot of people have expressed surprise at this, that why is the French president talking about the Americans like that? But to me, it comes as no great surprise because here is what he said. There is a risk our Europe could die. Now, these are very strong words coming from the French president. He said there is a risk that Europe could die. It could finish. That's what he says. And then President Macron also calls for a more integrated European defense, or to have those kind of capabilities so that the European continent does not become subservient to the United States. Now, these are very strong words, subservience, European Union being subservient. But the European Union has been subservient to the United States of America. Now, I'm not saying that this is the correct attitude for America to have, but after all, these are capitalist countries, and in capitalist countries, the winner takes all. And here is America saying that whenever we put troops in foreign lands, we spend the most amount of money, we have the most casualties, we put the most troops, we put the most equipment, we take the most risks. Hence, when it comes to rewards, we must also have the greatest reward. That is America's logic, and you can't fault America's logic. But here is what he says, that there is a risk our Europe could die. We are not equipped to face the risks. And he warned that military, economic and other pressures could weaken and fragment the 27-nation EU. So he's talking about a lot of stuff here. He's talking about cybersecurity here, for example. He's talking about AI, machine learning, all of that. And he's saying that I think what his intent was also that the inventions that Europe was known for at one point in time, that this has come out of Europe and this has come out of maybe Germany or England or France or Italy or whatever. Now, that is failing. It is the United States of America and now China that are moving forward at great speed. It used to be Japan one point in time, but I think Japan has taken a backseat. And Europe is nowhere in the picture. And they say that if we are of a certain political or geopolitical mindset, the leader of the pack clearly is the United States of America, and we will become subservient to them. So if US says go to war, So, in a sense, what he's saying is that European Union could become another Canada. That is what Canada does. Canada is a country that has no opinion of its own. Where America leads, Canada follows. That's pretty much it. So, he had other harsh words to say also. He's saying there is no defense without a defense industry. We've had decades of underinvestment, and that Europeans should give preference to buying European military equipment. Absolutely correct. And let me also tell you for the record that Europe makes amongst the finest equipment in the world. I mean, their tanks. Look at the tanks that Europe makes. Look at the artillery pieces. The small arms. Nobody makes small arms like Europe. Nobody makes rifles and machine guns. Heckler and Koch is German. Yeah. And there is no finer small arms manufacturer in the world. The Leopard tanks of Germany. I mean, you would be hard pressed to find a better tank. So it's not that the Europeans don't have military equipment. I think they have A-grade, world-class military equipment. The problem is scale. Number one, scale. Number two, they no longer put the kind of money into research and development that they should. And number three, a lot of Europeans are going in for cheaper products. You know, if they find that they can get something cheaper from the United States of America or even abroad outside, as long as it's not Russian in origin or Chinese origin, they are happy to take whatever they... So, Europe should buy more from Europe. That is what the President of France says. That's point number one. Point number two, he's also pointing out that, you know, we need to have far better military capabilities. And I think here, the richest European nation needs to step up, and that is Germany. After the Second World War, after the death of Hitler, after the surrender and everything else, Germany took a backseat and Germany said, no more fighting. We are not interested in fighting. We are going to have an armed force, but that is going to be largely defensive in nature. We are not going to go ahead invading countries. That is all a thing of the past. And they packed up everything. But the fact of the matter is that the Germans still make the best weapons in the world, at least the small arms. I mean, the Swiss, the Finnish people, the German people, these guys make mind-blowing stuff, even today, 2024. Like I said, there is no better small arms manufacturer. I mean, the quality of a Heckler & Koch gun is something to behold and admire. That is the level of German perfection. In other things, look at cars. All the finest cars are actually European, the finest. Whether you look at a Rolls-Royce, or you look at an Aston Martin, a Ferrari, a Maserati, a Lamborghini, or any of these race cars or fancy expensive cars. These are all European brands. Audi is a European brand. So all these cars. So what they are saying is buy European, make in Europe. This is Atmanirbhar Europe, if you know what I mean. So that is what he's focusing on, and he said that we need to support sectors like AI and green energy, facing challenges over from subsidies by the US and China. And of course, he says something which is very practical yet absolutely brutal. He says Europe must show that it is never a vassal of the United States and that it also knows how to talk to all the other regions of the world. So what he is saying is that Europe largely has been following after the Second World War. And this is true. After the Second World War, you know, Europe was almost decimated. Germany gone. England faced the worst of economic times. France battered, right? Greece battered. Italy battered. Spain battered. You name the country of Europe and it had a very, very bad, except for countries which remained neutral like Switzerland, most of the countries that took part, they took a hammering of a lifetime. And after after the Second World War, they became very peaceful countries. Now here he's saying that we must produce more, we must produce faster, and we must produce as Europeans. And there is this case about trying to give 155 mm artillery shells to Ukraine and not being able to produce those many shells. Russia, on the other hand, forget about Russia, look at North Korea. North Korea has been supplying 155 mm artillery shells to Russia, and the way North Korea can do it, it's amazing. The entire Europe cannot make what North Korea alone is making. A broken country, a country without any money, yet it can make weapons faster than Europe. Europe is a first world continent, and it can't move as fast as North Korea can. And these are facts and figures, ladies and gentlemen. So he's talking about defense, he's talking about AI, he's talking about a lot of stuff for Europe. But one thing I'd like to point out to President Emmanuel Macron, one thing he did not touch upon in his speech. So there are two kinds of enemies. There are enemies that are outside your borders, and there are enemies which are inside your borders. I think Europe, okay, this is not to say that Europe is overstating the threat from Russia. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Europe is understating the threat from within. Whether it is UK, whether it's Germany, any other country. These countries have been overrun by illegal immigrants. I have got some data, and then I will analyze this for you. So this data says that 1.1 million in 2022, that is 2 years before, 1.1 million non-EU citizens were found to be illegally present in the EU, a 65% increase as compared to 2021. So 1.1 million EU citizens in 2022. I'm sure it's much, much more now. And the most number of, or the largest number of illegally present people were found in Hungary, 223,000, which is 20%, followed by Germany, 198,000 or 18%, Italy, 138,000 or 12%. Now, who were the people who were coming in the maximum, who were flooding Europe? Flooding Europe, absolutely. The biggest group were the Syrians. Syria. The biggest, illegal immigrant group, Syrians. Then they were 197,000, the Syrians. Afghans, 114,000, and Moroccans, 60,000. Moroccans were the ones who burnt a part of France. After that young man was shot by the cops, they burnt half of France. Yeah. So the problem with Europe is illegal immigration, and I'll keep on saying this again and again and again. I made a video on UK and the problem that the UK was facing, but Europe, I just want to tell all the Europeans here, you have been overrun by illegal immigrants. Now, my position on illegal immigration is this, that anybody who wants to become a citizen of Europe, A, must do so legally, and B, there should be some method of, even after the person has received, or do not give him the citizenship beforehand, first judge, has this person integrated into your society? If he's living there, okay, you say that you're living here, we will give you a 5-year, stay permission or a resident permit, but not citizenship. Many countries do that. I'm not saying it's not being done. What I'm saying is that what do you do in those 5 years? Is it just a box to be ticked? No. There should be a board sitting there which judges each case, or several boards across. You can have 50 boards or 100 boards who are doing this. But Europe has a distinct culture. France has a distinct culture. Germany has a distinct culture. Anybody who comes into your country, legally or illegally, must assimilate in European culture. The problem that you have in Europe is that Europeans are trying to assimilate into the intruders' culture, and they are intruders because they have illegally come into your country. They must adjust. Because what made France great? Modern France I'm talking about. What made Italy great, or Germany, or any other country? Right? I'm talking about the modern era. I'm not getting into the colonial times or Second World War. I'm saying post-1945. Post-1945, what made these countries great? There's a certain, it's a Judeo-Christian way of thinking. So that is the background. Now, what made them great is the fact that industrialization, rapid scientific advancement, and peaceful coexistence, the ability, and Europe has had its demons. After all, both Hitler and Mussolini were Europeans. So this is not to say that Europe has been peaceful. In fact, Europe has been the most violent continent in the history of this planet. The most violent. I'm talking about after 1945. Europe changed absolutely. And today, Europe is bending over backwards to accommodate people who do not share their values. And they come in by the bus loads, the truck loads, the ship loads, the boat loads. They keep on streaming into Europe. They are overrunning Europe. And they're overrunning every aspect of your life. There is no way, if you have more than 100,000 Syrians running around, yeah, these guys have never seen democracy. You see, you have to understand this. And I'm talking to the Europeans here directly, and if any head of state is listening to this, these guys have never seen democracy. They know nothing about human rights, this equality of women, transgender rights, gay rights, lesbian rights. That a woman can make her own decisions. They've never seen that in their lives. And then you expect them to integrate into European society. If a guy is coming from some part of Afghanistan, all he has seen is death and destruction. And that is what he carries. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm not saying he's a bad person. Or that Syrian is a bad person. Or that Moroccan is a bad person. I'm not saying, if it was a Pakistani, I would say, yeah, he's a bad person. But apart from Pakistani, generally, I'm not saying that these are bad people or good people. I'm not making that judgment call. All I'm saying is that these people come from countries that have never seen an environment like Europe. They haven't seen democracy. They do not know what free speech is. Most of them are radical, and for them that is normal. What you and I deem radical is something that is acceptable to those people because that is their normal way of life. And suddenly they come into a society where everything is 180 degrees different. The way they react, the way they get influenced by radical preachers in mosques. And friends, I'd just like to add something here. I think, UK has come up with the Rwanda plan, and Rishi Sunak has said, no if, no but, the planes are ready. You heard his speech, right? No if, no but, the planes are ready and the planes are going to take off, and we have a team of 500 people, highly trained, 300 more coming up. We're going to drop these people in Rwanda, come back, and then it's going to go back and forth, etc., etc. Chartered planes are ready to take off. So he's sending all the illegal immigrants to Rwanda. They paid money. I want to ask the rest of Europe, what's your problem? Why can't you do what Rishi Sunak did? If you get into too much of these, bleeding heart activities, as I like to call them, your country will disappear from the face of the earth. There will be no Europe, there will be no Germany, there will be no France. France is already suffering because one Moroccan young man was shot by the police and then they burnt France. They burnt thousands of automobiles, hundreds of homes. That is the nature, because these guys come from countries like that, right? They come from countries like, for example, let me again make it very clear. If you have somebody coming from Saudi Arabia or the UAE, or such countries, they'll behave in an extremely civilized manner. I'm talking about the Muslims there, the Arab Muslims there. Very civilized, hospitable people, nice, they'll talk to you, they'll mind their own business. The problem is in a few Muslim countries. And those few Muslim countries, like Syria, like Yemen, like Morocco, like Palestine, like Lebanon, like Pakistan, they will sink you, Europe. What you should do is take a leaf out of Rishi Sunak's book. He has had a tie-up with Rwanda. The African Union has 55 countries. It's time you guys started writing big checks. Started writing big checks. It could be a country in Asia. Why only Africa? It could be a country in Asia. It could be a country anywhere. Anywhere. Right? Send these people there. They take advantage of the fact that you are a country run by human rights. They take advantage of your constitution, and they know that if they give you a sob story, there is some lawyer willing to fight his case. They'll manage some money, they'll give the lawyer that money. In the end, by hook or by crook, the idea is to get your citizenship, and this is your biggest national security threat. Do you want, you have agreed that your intelligence services, you have agreed that your defense is weak. What do you want? Al-Qaeda Europe or Daesh Europe? It can happen because you let your guard down, right? You let your guard down. It's not, look at the map here. Where is Afghanistan? Afghanistan is not very far from Europe. Don't think of it as these many thousand kilometers. Forget about it. Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, take a left. There's nothing. Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, left. Keep moving left. There's Europe. You can travel from country to country. You can travel on a motorcycle. And they want to go to Europe. And why can't they just go to Turkey? Turkey makes everything possible. There is a radical Islamist at the helm of affairs in Turkey. I'm talking about Tayyip Erdogan. He's a radical Islamist. He's a jihadi. wearing a suit and a tie, but he's a jihadi nonetheless. Europe is in mortal danger, and I don't think the French president is wrong. But I think one of the main reasons that he did not give, because nobody wants to be seen as Islamophobic. Nobody wants to be seen as somebody who is not secular. And then people forget to tell the truth. They avoid telling the truth because the truth is extremely uncomfortable, ladies and gentlemen. I think Europe has external threats, but the main threat to Europe is internal. It stems from illegal immigration, and it stems, and this is data, this is not me, this is data. So you saw Syria, Afghanistan, and Morocco. 3 radical Islamist countries. 3 radical Islamist countries. Their citizens who've been born and brought up in a certain environment. They haven't seen elections. They don't know what voting is like. Even if there is voting, it's sham voting, it's sham elections. They've seen coups. They've seen strong men in power. That's all they've seen. You see? And whoever is more powerful in these kind of situations, they become your hero. There is freedom of speech, sure. But if you ask many people from these countries, a simple question like, do you condemn Osama bin Laden? Do you think that he was a crook? Do you think he was a villain or a terrorist? Do you think so? If you ask them a question, just look at their answers. They'll say, while he might have done something which you could have thought of as extreme, however, we must look into the circumstances. They will use your freedom of expression. They will use your constitution against you. And you think that you know them. You don't know them. One day you'll be surprised, and that day it'll be too late. Wake up, Europe. The first question is from Vibhu Arya. He says, Namaste, sir. I wish your mother's fast recovery. Vibhuji, thank you very much, and I'm very grateful. And namaskar to you too. My question is that you said earlier the whole Pakistani population is radical against, and also you said that people from POK and Gilgit-Baltistan want to join India. So I want to ask, if these radical people join India, then they can affect India's democratic stability and peace also, like they're doing in Europe. Taglaro. Oh, Vibhuji, the thing is that, you see, yes, in a way you're right. But the population of Gilgit-Baltistan and POK is not very much. It's manageable. But when you consider Pakistan, a lot of people speak about Akhand Bharat. And I made this statement in the context of Akhand Bharat, that they say, no, all these territories of Pakistan and Afghanistan and all these areas, Bangladesh and all that, at one point in time, they used to be part of India. So a lot of Pakistanis don't understand the meaning of Akhand Bharat. They think this is an expansionist plan. No, Akhand Bharat means united India. Khand means to break into pieces. Akhand means one that is not broken. So undivided. Old India. That is what Akhand Bharat is. I, for one, would love the idea of an Akhand Bharat, but if it means getting the population of Pakistan into India and making them Indian citizens, then I do not want Akhand Bharat in that case. That is what I've said, and this is what I'll repeat 1,000 times. If you're getting the land of Pakistan without the people, right, they can all go to Canada. I don't care. If you're getting the land, I'm happy. If you're getting the land with the people, then I don't want the land, because those people are so highly radicalized that, we are talking today about being, in 3-4 years, being the 3rd largest economy in the world. Yeah, that's what we are saying. Forget about it then. If Pakistan dovetails back into India, if Pakistan rejoins India, you're not going to be among the top 50 in the world. Forget about the 3rd largest economy. You're not going to be in the top 50. Chris says, Major, what's happening when the illegal immigrants reach Rwanda? Do they settle over there? What about the local people? How would they adjust to these extremists? Wouldn't then the settled immigrants take over Rwanda? Yeah, so I don't know. The truthful answer to your question is I don't know. When the illegal immigrants reach Rwanda, then they get processed there, then they stay there, then they settle down there. UK will give them money. And I think this is something that Europe also needs to do. I think that is what Europe also needs to do. And how would they adjust to these extremists? I don't know. Maybe the Rwandans have some system of dealing with them. Okay, Rwanda is not exactly known for liberal democracy. So I'm sure Rwanda will figure out something. Wouldn't these settled immigrants then take over Rwanda? I don't think so. Because the local population is just too big. You can't take over like that. So I don't think so. Discombobulation. Jain sir, should the Tamil majority areas in Sri Lanka be given to India? Thanks. Have the Tamils of Sri Lanka asked, have they ever demanded that they be merged with India? That is my question to you. Rather than you asking me, should the Tamil majority areas in Sri Lanka be given to India? Who will give? Not Sri Lanka. So is it given to India, or should they be part of India? So your question is, should the Tamil majority area of Sri Lanka be with India? My first thing is, let's ask the Tamil majority areas of Sri Lanka if they want to be a part of India. I don't think there is any demand from India. As long as the Tamils are happy, and as long as they are not being subject to human rights violations, and as long as they are free and happy citizens of Sri Lanka, I mean, God bless them. Yeah. Why should we say that we want this and we are not China, we are India. We don't want anybody's land. All I pray for as a person from India, to my Tamil brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka, that wherever you are happy, wherever you are free, wherever you can live with self-respect, okay, that is your place. And if you think Sri Lanka today, there were problems earlier, but today if Sri Lanka is treating you with respect and with honor, you're happy in Sri Lanka, then God bless you. I mean, it's nobody's place to tell you what you should do. It's not at least my place to say what you should do. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. And if you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.